The sun glared off the 42nd floor windows of Helix Corps' London headquarters, a gleaming spire of glass and polished steel. Inside, Ashton Ash Miles, senior strategy analyst, MBA, black belt, and only black man in the department, adjusted his tie, inhaled deeply, and stepped into the elevator lobby. He'd practiced his pitch for weeks. Today wasn't just a presentation, it was his shot at becoming Director of Global Operations. Every executive would be there, including the elusive Sir Reginald Dempsey, the Royal Guard, as people mockingly called him behind his back, former MI5, knighted by the Queen, cold as polished marble and twice as hard. One click could amplify a voice the world tried to silence. Subscribe now and never miss a truth that needs to be heard. Ash turned the corner and, smack, collided with a man blocking the executive entrance. "You're in the wrong corridor," the man snapped. Ash blinked. It was Dempsey, dressed like he'd stepped out of Buckingham Palace, posture militant. His eyes scanned Ash like a barcode. "Security," Dempsey barked into his comm. "We have an intruder on 42. Ash laughed, bewildered. "Sir, I work here. Ashton, Miles. I'm presenting the Latin America proposal. You match no approved ID." "My badge is right." Ash reached for his lapel. In a flash, Dempsey closed the distance. His arms swept Ash's hand away. "Keep your hands where I can see them." And that's when it happened. Instincts overrode corporate etiquette. In a single motion, Ash pivoted, swept his leg, and kicked Dempsey clean across the jaw. The old man crumpled backward into the frosted glass wall with a sharp crack. Silence. Then, chaos. Executives screamed. Security sprinted in. Phones raised. Ash froze. His heart thumped against his ribcage like a drumline. Dempsey groaned, blood running from his temple like a crimson ribbon down his collar. And Ash just stood there. Two guards tackled him from behind. He didn't resist. Couldn't. His mind had already fractured between the professionalism he'd built and the instinct he couldn't suppress. They dragged him away, his briefcase spilling across the marble floor, spreadsheets, pitch decks, and the dreams of a decade fluttering like dying birds. His ears rang, his breath caught, and just before the elevator doors shut, Ash looked up and saw the boardroom glass above the lobby, filled with watching faces. One of them was smiling, not in shock, not in pity, smiling. He knew in that instant, this wasn't just a misunderstanding. This was a setup. The holding room was colder than Ash expected. Not in temperature, though the vents hissed with sterile air, but in spirit. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. His hands, still cuffed, rested on the brushed metal table, shaking just enough to betray the storm inside him. He replayed the moment over and over, the kick, the way Dempsey had lunged, the sickening silence after the impact. It wasn't just the violence that haunted him, it was the smile. The one he caught in the glass above, thin, almost satisfied. Betrayal left a taste in the mouth that no amount of bottled water could wash away. The door clicked open. A woman entered. Early 40s, sharp navy suit, sharper eyes. "Mr. Miles, I'm Victoria Price, Chief Legal Counsel for Helix Corps." He straightened reflexively. "Good. Someone who can fix this. It was a misunderstanding. I was profiled, attacked even, and I defended myself. It was instinct." She opened a file without looking at him. "You assaulted Sir Reginald Dempsey in a secured corporate zone with multiple witnesses and camera footage. He's in the hospital. A concussion. Fractured jaw." Ash leaned forward. "He grabbed me, called security before even asking my name. I had my ID. He ignored it. I've been with Helix Corps 6 years. "Not anymore." The word struck like a hammer. "What?" "You've been terminated effective immediately, pending criminal investigation." Ash's throat tightened. "Criminal?" Price didn't blink. "There's already press interest. Black belt analyst attacks knighted executive. You can imagine the headlines. You're railroading me." His voice cracked. "Someone wanted this. Dempsey never even let me explain. And someone up there, someone was smiling." Finally, she looked at him. "You think corporate conspiracies happen in open boardrooms, Mr. Miles?" she said, voice like dry ice. "You acted. You struck. And now you pay. He felt it rising again, the humiliation, the fury, the fear. This isn't just about me, he whispered. You people. She cut him off. My advice? Lawyer up, quietly. If you go to the press, we'll bury you in litigation until your grandkids feel it. Ash slumped. The room suddenly felt a mile deep. Someone set me up, he murmured. Victoria stood. Prove it. She left, and the lights buzzed on. Alone, Ash looked at his reflection in the metal table. His face, bruised from being pinned, eyes bloodshot, looked like a man who had been mugged in a business suit. He wasn't just unemployed. He was radioactive, but in that moment, something inside him shifted. He remembered something his old sensei once told him. A black belt isn't the end. It's the beginning. You've just earned the right to learn how to stand after being knocked down. He reached into his jacket slowly and pulled out his phone. One number glowed on the screen. He hadn't called it in years, but the name read Uncle Leo, Mod Ret. He hesitated, then hit dial. It rang, then answered. Ash? The voice growled on the other end. If you're calling me, someone just made a big mistake. Ash's voice steadied. I need help. Someone just tried to destroy me. And I think they're not done. A long pause. Then, good. Let's give them something to be afraid of. Ash sat alone on a park bench outside Canary Wharf, still wearing the same tailored suit they threw. Him out in, creased, scuffed, and stained with the dust of humiliation. The city pulsed around him like it didn't even notice. People sipped lattes, checked stock tickers, clicked heels on concrete like the world wasn't ending for someone in every corner. He felt invisible. Not in the comforting way martial artists. Trained to become, fluid, undetectable, but the kind of invisible that society reserves for the disposable. Then he heard it. Eyes up, soldier. Ash turned. Uncle Leo stood like a granite pillar in a tan overcoat. Square jaw, cropped white hair. His presence was less about size and more about gravity, like the air adjusted when he walked into a room. A former Ministry of Defense asset, turned private intelligence consultant, Leo was the kind of man governments denied knowing. Ash rose instinctively. You didn't tell me it was Dempsey, Leo muttered. You know him? Leo's eyes hardened. He ran a private unit back in the day, used to bury things and people. Officially, he's retired. Unofficially, he's a cleaner for powerful hands. Ash's stomach twisted. So this wasn't just profiling? No, Leo said flatly. This was permission. Ash exhaled. Permission to humiliate me? To neutralize you. Leo handed him a thin envelope. Inside, printed screenshots, emails, and internal memos. Ash scanned them, heart accelerating. His own name was in the subject lines, flagged by legal weeks ago. Notes about risk optics, diversity performance caps, and, most damning, an email from Sir Reginald. Miles is becoming inconvenient. I'll deal with it. Quietly. Ash's breath caught. They planned this? Leo nodded. They couldn't fire you outright. You were outperforming. So they provoked you. Knew your background, your training, just enough to push you over the edge and make it look like rage. Ash's fists clenched. His knuckles cracked. All that work, all those nights. And they turned me into a headline. Leo placed a hand on his shoulder. You've been trained for 10 years to master your body. Now you need to master the war behind the curtain. Ash looked up. How? Leo smiled faintly. You take the fight to them, but not in the dojo, in the boardroom, the back channels, where the real black belts of power operate. Ash's eyes sharpened. I want names, allies, leverage. Leo handed him a USB drive. Start here. This gives you access to a server Helix Core thought they scrubbed. You'll find out who ordered the hit, and why. Ash stood tall. I'm going to make them regret thinking I was just another brown face in a suit. As they turned to leave, Ash's phone buzzed. A private number, he answered. A distorted voice said only one sentence. You should have stayed down, Mr. Miles. Then, the call ended. Ash stared at the screen. He wasn't just up against a company. He was up against an empire. Ash sat in the dim light of Leo's converted flat in South Bank, walls lined with old military maps and filing cabinets that creaked like they were hiding things that had once shaken nations. It smelled like burnt coffee, old paper, and secrets. The USB drive pulsed in his hand. "Plug it in," Leo said from across the room. Ash hesitated. "How did you even get this?" Leo raised a brow. "You don't ask a man like me that unless you're prepared to share responsibility for the answer." "Fair." He inserted the drive into Leo's offline laptop. The screen blinked. A hidden partition mounted. Inside were folders, encrypted logs, scrubbed transcripts, and 3 videos labeled only with dates. Ash clicked on the first. It was grainy surveillance footage, inside a boardroom. The quality wasn't good, but voices were clear. "Sir Reginald, he's brilliant, yes, but too visible, too vocal. He's not satisfied just playing the diversity card. He's winning, and that is dangerous." Another voice. "The CFO, Helen Boyd. You want to take him out quietly? Sir Reginald. He's a black belt. He'll snap if prodded just right, and we'll catch it on camera. The press will do the rest." Ash's jaw clenched so tight it hurt. His heart pounded like it was trying to escape. They'd orchestrated everything, and worse, they knew exactly what kind of man he was, and turned it against him. Leo was silent, letting him feel the weight. "I thought I was being paranoid," Ash whispered. "I thought I was just playing the race card like they always say." "They count on that," Leo said. "That you'll doubt yourself long enough to miss the knife going in." Ash clicked open the second file. It was an email chain between Helix Corps' head of compliance and someone from the Ministry of Trade. They were discussing quietly disqualifying Ash from a prestigious government advisory panel he'd been nominated for, claiming he had behavioral instability. Ash laughed bitterly. "They weren't just trying to fire me, they wanted to erase me. They wanted to destroy your credibility permanently. You were a threat. You had influence. You had a story people might believe." Ash leaned back, every muscle taut. "So how do I hit back?" Leo nodded toward the screen. "You leak this, it'll shake the foundation of the company, but they'll recover. People forget headlines fast." "Then what?" Leo leaned in. "You use their system against them. We build a counter case. Find the backdoors, the offshore holdings, the execs with dual loyalties. You build pressure. Then you give them a choice: public, ruin, or complete surrender." Ash nodded slowly, his old strategic brain kicking back into gear. He wasn't broken. He was rearming. Just then, Leo's landline rang. A red phone that hadn't rung in 5 years. He answered. His face changed. He hung up, looked at Ash. "That was MI6. Ash blinked. "Excuse me?" Leo's voice was calm, too calm. "They're monitoring this case. And they just issued a quiet alert. You're not the only target. They've done this before, multiple times, and always to men of color with upward momentum." Ash felt the floor tilt beneath him. "They didn't just try to destroy my future," he said softly. "They've built a system to do it." Leo handed him a black folder. "Then it's time we expose it." Ash opened it, and what he saw made his breath catch. Inside a list of names, some dead, some disappeared, some still fighting, and all of them had one thing in common. They were once just like him. Ash stared at the list in the black folder, hands trembling as he flipped through names and files. Each one was a mirror, a rising star at some powerful institution. Black, brown, sometimes women. All had been derailed by unforeseen behavioral issues, security risks, or cultural friction. All terms dressed up to look professional, but all meaning one thing: eliminate the threat before they sit at the table. His name now joined theirs. Leo sat beside him, pouring tea in chipped mugs. They don't blacklist you from one job. They blacklist you from an entire future. Whole industries start ghosting. You apply, they smile, then never call. Happens like a ghost passed through your life. Ash flipped to one page. A woman named Dr. Simone Kayode, former AI ethics advisor to a global tech firm, fired after a boardroom incident eerily similar to his, except no video surfaced. She simply vanished. "She's still around," Leo said, reading his mind. "Keeps a low profile. Runs an encrypted blog now. The burning ledger speaks truth in shadows. Ash looked up. I need to talk to her. Leo grinned. Already arranged. She'll meet us tonight. They found her in a forgotten cafe in Brixton, tucked behind a train station full of steam and reggae and quiet glances. Simone was smaller than Ash expected, petite, almost bird-like, but her presence was undeniable. She looked him over once, then nodded. I read your story. I saw the footage before it got scrubbed. Someone leaked it. Someone archived it. Nothing ever really dies on the net. She sipped black tea, then leaned in. They didn't just destroy your credibility. They tested a containment pattern. I call it Black Disqualification Protocol. Ash raised an eyebrow. That sounds like a conspiracy theory. She held up her phone, tapped her blog open. So did Cambridge Analytica, until it didn't. She swiped. Data sets cross-referenced names, patterns of sabotage, all following the same blueprint. Promote fast, isolate subtly, provoke publicly, discredit completely. Why me? Ash whispered. You were too eloquent, too capable, and too undeniable. You embarrassed people in rooms where they used to laugh at your type. So they built a narrative to remind you of your place. Ash's jaw clenched. Simone studied him. You want to win? He nodded. Then you need more than revenge. You need to unmake the machine. Later that night, back in Leo's apartment, they built the beginnings of a war room. Cables, printouts, and digital files spread across the dining table like a military. Ash opened the final file on the drive. Inside, financial records, shell companies. A paper trail that connected Helix Corps' C-suite, Dempsey, CFO Boyd, and others, to an offshore slush fund used to settle dozens of quiet terminations. It was damning. Ash looked at Leo. We don't take this to court. We take this to the court of influence. Leo smiled. Now you're thinking like them. Ash stared at the board they'd pinned together. A web of names, evidence, press contacts, and a plan. He was no longer playing defense. He was preparing a strike. And then his phone buzzed. A single text. You think you're safe because you found. Friends, they bleed too. Attached, a photo of Simone taken just minutes ago. Through the cafe window, Ash's stomach turned to stone. The game had escalated, and the gloves were coming off. The lobby of Helix Corps was still polished like a luxury showroom, glass chandeliers, piano jazz humming softly in the background, and walls lined with quotes about vision, innovation, and integrity. All of it made Ash feel like he was walking into a grave dressed as a cathedral. The same security desk from the day he was arrested stood like a silent sentinel. But this time the guards didn't stop him. They looked at their monitors, and then turned their eyes away. Leo had called in a few favors. Ash walked through the turnstiles with the calm of a man holding the fuse and the fire. Elevator to 44 boardroom floor. The very space where they had plotted his downfall. Now he would lay out theirs. The receptionist, lips parted in disbelief, stammered, Sir, you're not allowed. He kept walking, straight into the executive suite. The board was mid-meeting, 12 of them. Sir Reginald Dempsey at the head of the table, jaw still bandaged, arm in a sling. The sight of Ash made his eyes widen with something between rage and dread. Ash laid the folder on the table. Nobody moved. I'm not here for an apology, he said, his voice ice and iron. I'm here to return something you left behind. Consequences. He opened the folder. Hard copies of every file Leo and Simone had helped him uncover. Transcripts, money trails, offshore accounts, internal emails implicating most of the board in a system built on quiet sabotage. Ash glanced at the legal counsel, Victoria Price, who had once told him to keep quiet or be buried. Go ahead, Price, Ash said. Tell them what you told me, that the press wouldn't care, that I'd get steamrolled. He dropped a small recording device on the table. It played Price's voice, clear and unmistakable. If you go to the press, we'll bury you in litigation until your grandkids feel it. Some board members shifted. One, a woman near the end, stood quietly and walked out. Dempsey tried to speak, but his jaw betrayed him. I've sent digital copies to regulatory bodies, shareholder coalitions, and whistleblower channels, but here's what you don't know, Ash said. Every client you've landed through this diversity optics program, they're about to find out what you actually do to people like me. Silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. Ash stepped closer. To Dempsey, you thought you were silencing a problem. You just made me unforgettable. Dempsey finally spoke, voice broken. You have no idea what you've started. Ash leaned in. No, you don't. Then he turned, walking out of the boardroom without waiting for permission or response. In the elevator. Ash finally exhaled. Leo's voice rang in his ear from the earpiece. Package delivered? Every word, Ash replied. Good. Now let's light the match. Ash stepped out into the lobby. Just as he did, a journalist from The Guardian entered, rushing past security, waving credentials, then another. And another. The press flood had begun. But just as Ash reached the curb outside, his phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number. Nice performance. But did you really think this ends at Helix Corps? You've started a war you don't understand. Ash stared at the screen. His lips curled into the smallest smile. Good, he typed back. That means I'm in the right place. Ash's face was everywhere. The Guardian's expose hit the net like a lightning strike. Diversity star ousted by Helix Corps. Internal documents reveal sabotage at the top. BBC picked it up. Then Al Jazeera. Then the U.S. outlets started circling like vultures with cameras inside the article. The footage of Sir Reginald's racist power play, the offshore accounts, and the black disqualification protocol that Simone had uncovered. Ash's own voice quoted like a rallying cry. They didn't just try to ruin my reputation. They wanted to turn me into a warning. In 24 hours, Helix Corps' stock lost 8%. But that wasn't what shook Ash. What shook him was what came next. The first sign was quiet. Simone didn't check in. Then her blog went offline. Next, Leo called from a burner phone, voice tight. They're pulling private contractors off the shelf, ex-military types. I just got word one of your former colleagues from Helix Corps, the only one who tried to speak up for you, had her car torched outside her flat. Ash froze. You said this would just be corporate damage. Leo's tone darkened. I was wrong. You didn't just embarrass them. You exposed a network built to protect a class of people. You pulled the thread, and now it's unraveling. Too fast. Ash sat in the back of a black cab watching London blur past. His phone buzzed again. A photo. It was his old dojo. Shattered windows, blood on the mats, the sign ripped down, message attached. Not so untouchable now, are you? His breath caught. For the first time since this started, real fear gripped his chest. This wasn't about money or reputation anymore. They were going for pressure points. Home, community, roots. Ash arrived at Leo's safe house, a converted warehouse in an industrial corner of Lambeth. When he walked in, Leo was already pulling down maps, burning documents. Simone was there, shaken, but alive. She'd gone off-grid when her server got pinged from a ministry IP. She looked up at Ash. They've started turning on each other. The ones lower on the food chain are panicking, and one of them sent me this. She handed him a flash drive. Inside, an audio recording. Dempsey's voice. Meeting with an unnamed official. He's not scared of losing. That's what makes him dangerous. We may need to initiate Black Swan protocol. Leo paused mid-breath. Ash looked between them. What the hell is that? Leo answered, voice cold. It's the corporate version of a hit. Not physical. Worse. Fabricated crimes, asset freezing, character assassination, permanent exile. Ash stared at the wall, pulse pounding. They were planning to make him radioactive. Not just in London. Everywhere. Simone stood. You still have one weapon left, Ash. What? She pulled out a copy of the Burning Ledger's subscriber list. Lawyers, whistleblowers, reporters, even a few regulators. You think you're alone. You're not. Every system they've used to silence people, we've tracked it. And now, the world is listening. Leo walked over, slid a burner phone across the table. It's time for a different kind of strike. Ash picked it up. What am I doing? Leo smiled. Calling the people they can't buy. The ones who don't flinch. You're not here to clear your name anymore. You're here to break the machine. Ash stared at the screen. His fear was still there. But now, so was something else. Fire. He dialed, and as the line rang, he whispered, You wanted war. "You just got one." It began with a whisper. Ash didn't need another viral video, or another leaked document. What he needed now, what the machine couldn't withstand, was legitimacy. So he made the call. To Parliament, to the European Human Rights Commission, to the exiled board member who walked out that day in the Helix core room and had everything to lose, but more to say. Simone helped him draft the dossier. Leo secured the channels. And Ash? He became the face of a movement that didn't ask for justice. It demanded it. Within 3 weeks, multiple agencies announced formal investigations into Helix core insider trading, discrimination racketeering, blacklist algorithms deployed in hiring systems. The phrase Black Disqualification Protocol started trending on ex-employees walked out, shareholders revolted. And Dempsey? He vanished. No press, no statements, no denials, just a ghost of privilege fading behind curtains too thin to hide the truth. Ash didn't celebrate. Not at first. The dojo still needed rebuilding. His name, though vindicated, still carried shadows. But then something started to shift. A quiet knock came at his flat one morning. A courier, no sender listed, just a small black box. Inside, a medal, official, embossed with the seal of the Ministry of Defense, and a folded note. For valor not just on foreign ground, but in boardrooms where battles leave no bruises but break entire generations. We failed to protect you. You did not fail to rise. Ash stared at the medal, hands shaking. All the noise around him, the headlines, the attacks, the silence of so-called allies, fell away. He had outlasted them, not by fighting harder, but by refusing to become what they accused him of being. 2 months later, he stood on a TED stage, wearing the same black suit, looking out at a crowd of hundreds. The talk was called, "When They Kick You Down, Break the Floor." He spoke without notes, about dignity, about betrayal, about the rage that doesn't destroy, but builds. And when the applause roared through the auditorium, it wasn't for a black belt who kicked a guard in the face. It was for a man who faced an empire and unfolded it from within. Backstage, Simone hugged him. Leo gave a quiet nod. And Ash? He turned to the camera, knowing millions were watching online. He ended with one sentence: calm, unshaken, resolute. They trained me to master my body, but they never imagined I'd master my story.